morning and welcome to anybody that's joining as a replayer. If you're a replayer, you can still participate. You can tap on the screen. Hi Sandeepa, hi Kimmy. You can tap on the screen. Hi, just Zonia. Hi. If you tap on the screen or share with anybody, hi Joe81, and you can, of course, follow me on Twitter or Snapchat, especially if you have questions to not have answers to, because you weren't on the broadcast. Welcome to everybody else that's joining live, and welcome to my broadcast. If you are new, good morning. My name is joannazarach. Hi, Monica. Good to see you on here. Hi, Sandy. My name is joannazarach, and I do a daily money habits broadcast. And thank you for inviting followers. Hi. And I do a daily broadcast 7 days a week because I had decided that I really feel like I need to support people who are trying to get to a better place with their finances, and that the best thing for me to do is to do what I do well, to be consistent, to show up, to support, to encourage, to do the math, to share my knowledge. So that's why I'm here. So every day I do. Thanks for everybody that's joining. If you're new to me, my name is joannazarach. Yeah, I know they are coming. I see them all coming. Thanks. I know Sandy invited her followers, and it's such a good group. So thanks everybody who's joining from that crowd. Yeah. Sandy, if you're not following Sandy, yes, I am cheap. She's awesome. I love her storytelling and her sharing her knowledge with everybody as well, which is why I think what's great about Periscope is the ability to just reach the people that are not immediately, yeah, Sandy's awesome, that are not immediately in your circle of influence. And that's one of the things that I want to talk about today. So I do a broadcast every single day at 10 a.m. I also do 2 broadcasts a week on money matters. Like last night, I did one on Schedule C because I'm money nerd. And yeah, thank you, Sandy. I'm a money nerd. I've been managing my own finances for the last 20 years. I've built up my knowledge, my skill set by being a practitioner of personal finance. It's not what I do professionally. I'm actually a business consultant, but that actually leads a lot into my knowledge because I know how corporate works and how, hello from Mars, yeah. I know how corporations work, how they make their money, what's profit all about. And I've started to apply some of those concepts to personal finance. But here's what I want to talk to you about today. On Saturdays, I talk about success, and I want everybody to reflect on their week and say, what was I able to accomplish when it came to money? Right? Financial journey, it takes a lot of effort to make progress on your financial journey. And I think people don't realize that they have to build those stepping stones, right? And I talk a lot about some of the practical things that you can accomplish or you can achieve or you can help yourself with. And the thing is, if you don't do them, you can't expect to move to the next level. And when I talk about having a financial, having a team behind you, I don't talk about sort of the professional services you can purchase. I'm not talking about your accountant, your tax preparer, or even your financial advisor. I'm, by the way, I do all that myself. And that's one of the things that I try to talk about is that I know a lot of people who sort of, who are the financial gurus. A lot of times you turn around and say, well, what do you do? And they're like, well, I just hand it off to someone. That's not what I do. I actually, I'm a big believer in like facing the struggle. Heidi, facing the struggle and actually doing it. I'm walking the walk, and I have been doing it. And I guess I kind of refuse or resist handing it off to any professionals, even though anybody in the right mind would be like, why do you just do all this yourself? Because I immerse myself in, it's from Poland. I'm originally Polish. So one of the, when we think about like behaviors and mindset, I'm an immigrant. I mean, I moved here when I was younger, but I still have it. Yeah, you know what? It's like, so reading books, actually, reading books is really, really critical. Like, I feel like people who write about money and finances are one of the biggest things that's made a difference in my life is reading from others, because I didn't have my parents teach me, right? And so that's why it's so important to know who is in your corner when you're making progress to financial success and any type of success. As you all know, if you've progressed in life, sometimes the people you leave behind, and I don't mean intentionally, but the people who aren't moving forward with you, they're not there to support you, because people commiserate in the struggle. And when you stop struggling, it's actually really difficult for the people who are struggling to support you. Sometimes your parents even, or your family has a really hard time supporting you. And that's why people tend to fall back. You know, people tend to go, why am I in the same place that I started with? It's because when you moved up the next level, the next part of your financial journey, no one's cheering you on. Right? Have you ever kind of done something that you thought was an accomplishment and you go to share with people you think are going to support you, and it's just like it falls on deaf ears? And with financial, with money, because money is one of our last taboo topics. We talk more about our bodies, our intimate relations, to be, I guess, polite. We talk about all of those things, yet when it comes to money, we shut down, right? It's a shell. It's considered I feel like it's the final frontier. And the thing is that, like, when you don't talk about things, you won't learn about them, right? So what I encourage you to do is to find people that will enable you to express yourself on your journey to financial freedom, right? I talk a lot about financial freedom because I feel like money's preventing most people from achieving like their potential, really. And I'm like, why is it? And it's because there isn't a support structure around it to encourage you to take the next step in your financial journey. So look around, right? Look around, and it's not to say discard the people that are in your life, but find someone who's going to support it. Find someone who's going to support your goal. And especially when you make your goal clear, when your goal isn't just acquire this item or have this lifestyle. When I talk about financial freedom, I talk about the discipline to accumulate wealth or investable assets, assets that will return an income. Thank you for inviting followers. Assets that will return an income. And if you don't come from that, right? If you don't come from a family that's already accomplished that, I talk about first generation wealth, right? I talk about building intergenerational wealth in one generation, Bernie Sanders, or all the way, and I talk about it, right? Because there is a lot of all the things that you hear, you know, there's always a little bit of truth in it, right? Yes. And so I don't know if anybody's seen that little graph of like, it's shit fucked up. Yes, no, like who to vote for. I think it's brilliant. Cruz, though. Let's not invite the Antichrist into our lives. Anyway, this is not a political talk. I have clear views on it. So anyway, so when you're making that progression, when financial freedom has become a goal of yours, look around and ask yourself, who's going to support it? Because even the people closest to us can be our biggest deterrent to getting there. Why you want that? You know, why would you want to invest where you can go on vacation? Why would you want to buy stocks where they're so dangerous? Stock market's going to crash. Why would you want to buy real estate? You know, it's such a pain. You know that everyone has reasons to tell you why your plan won't work. So surround yourself with people that say, I understand your sacrifice. I understand the trade-offs that you're making. I understand your passion for learning about money, right? Your passion for learning about how money works. Because that's what I'm trying to do, guys. I'm trying to teach what I know about how money works, right? Yeah. Yes. And so, money is not that mysterious. People won't understand. People don't understand. I mean, people, like, I have to always, not censor myself, but be very careful about when I talk about my beliefs around money, because they may directly contradict other people's behaviors. Here's the thing. Once we take a path, we believe it's the right one. We have to, right? We have to be okay with ourselves. That's our human way, is whatever decisions you make, you're not going to say, well, that was stupid. That was dumb. I made a mistake. I wasted my money. And so we look around for confirmation. I don't know if you've heard about this concept of confirmation bias. We're looking around to other people to assure us that our decisions were right. And when everybody else around you is making a different set of decisions, and you show up and you go, well, I live in so I'll use myself as an example. I use in a smaller house. I live in a condo that my husband has had for a long time. And people may say, why don't you live in a bigger house? I have a lot of friends that live in big houses. I send my children to public school. And people would be like, why don't you send your children to private school? Of course, it's kind of the best of the best. I like to go camping in the summer. Why? Because for like $100, you can spend time with your family in a fun situation. And people don't understand, because they go and look, well, you could afford all that. Why wouldn't you? So, well, I'm much more interested in having financial freedom. And what does financial freedom mean to me? I want to share this with you guys. Here's what it means to me. It means being able to go and exercise every single day. Why? Because that's after taking care of my children. I don't get up at 4:30. I cannot get up. I haven't set an alarm, by the way. I haven't set an alarm in my house, I want to say for 2.5 years. I don't set an alarm in my house. I have little children who need an alarm, but I don't get up before them. I don't do all the like, well, you could get up at 4 o'clock and work out then. No, I take care of my kids. I take them to school every day, and then I work out. Why? Because I've created a life where no one tells me this is what you need to do next at 9 o'clock. By the way, I went to the gym today, Saturday. I never go to the gym on Saturdays because it's so crowded. It was a madhouse, right? It was a madhouse. And I'm like, everyone's trying to get the workout in on Saturday morning between the hours of like 9 and 11. And I was like, holy crap. I didn't get it. Like, it was like, I was like, wow. I go in at like 9:30 in the morning on Monday, or actually not on Monday. Monday I take a class at noon, but I'll go in at 9:30 on Tuesday, and the gym is empty, right? Like, so I get to get my workout in and use any machine I want and do things on my own thing. Yeah. By the way, I still have to battle against the pressure of being on someone else's schedule and saying no a lot, and still going, okay, I can do work, but I don't work before 11, right? Like, I work at 11. And so you can ask, well, you can work harder and live in a bigger house, or send your kids to private school, or go on fancy vacations. And I said, or I can work less and I can have all the things that I think matter, right? So 2 years ago, I sat down and I wrote my priorities down, and none of them said made money. They were not centered around making money. They were centered around doing things. Yeah, work smarter, work in your pace. I can get more done in an hour if I'm really committed to something, because I built up a skill set. So it's not to say that like you can do that right away and not make an income. I've worked hard, at times. I've put in a lot of my mental energy and my skill set, and I upgraded my skill set. So that I can recognize that I can now do a fraction of the work for a fraction of the pay. But if you want less, Ty Lopez, he's all right. He's all right. I'm not, I prefer other people. I prefer other speakers, let's say. So that's the thing. It's, whatever. It has to make you happy, and also look at long term, right? So I look at longevity, right? I look at the things that I really, really want in life, and one of the things is I want to be around a long time, right? Like, I have a very clear idea of wanting to see like how the world plays out on all the things that haven't been invented yet, right? I love this idea of advancement. And yes, as many crises as we have in the world, I'm very optimistic about the future, right? I'm very optimistic, by the way, which is strange, right? Because that's my American self. Like, Americans, by the way, if you're in the US, we are an overly optimistic group of people, which has served us so well, because if you're not overly optimistic, you're not going to do things that require that long-term perspective. And that's what financial freedom is to have this long-term perspective and say, you know what if I could get there in 5 to 10 years? What if I could challenge myself and do things that are difficult? By the way, I've done so many things that are difficult, including me on Periscope, right? Like people are like, oh, live video, so scary. And I was like, you know what? The first 2 weeks of being on Periscope every day kind of sucked. But I got used to it and I figured it out. And I like just kept doing it, just kept showing up. I said that in one of my Facebook posts yesterday, you know, like there are times where there was nobody on Periscope, right? Like there's nobody. Yeah, I have been. It's every single day. I haven't missed a day. And it's because I looked at myself and I said, what are my strengths? Showing up is a strength, right? If you are the kind of person that shows up, and by the way, I don't have, like, there are some things where I just know I can't do and I'm not going to work on them. I'm not going to fix the stuff I'm not good at. I'm going to leverage my strengths. And that's what I'm doing. And by the way, I love talking about money and I love teaching. And so I really just looked into my strengths and did that. So anyway, the bottom line of today's story, and I'm happy to answer questions. By the way, if you have questions and you want to stick around for any storytelling, I'm happy to do that. But the idea is that make sure, thank you. Make sure you have a team. It doesn't have to be big. You have it like it's almost like cheerleaders. You want people who you can go to and say, I accomplished this when it comes to money, right? So because people can be happy for you to find home improvements. I'm not sure. Oh, home improvements fund. To fund home improvements. Well, earn the money. I don't know. Save up the money. I guess. Evaluate what the home improvements are bringing you. Are they bringing you like functional? Are you need to fix stuff that's not working? Are you just looking to to do more? I don't know. I don't do a lot of home improvements. Yeah, you can do equity line of credit. I mean, I'm a big believer that you got to earn the money and save it up. But if you have an emergency, you can get a line of credit. But again, I'm not a big fan of borrowing if it's not going to make you a return. So if you're going to sell your house and you believe that this home improvement is going to improve the price of your asset, maybe. But by the way, that's not supported by any facts. Any home improvement that you make, unless things is really broken or cosmetic, doesn't return. I mean, we're talking never, it's always less than 100%. So I would say, okay, why is that a priority for you? And I know people like having a good environment to live in. But again, it's a trade-off. I'm a big believer in like earning before you spend. I'm not that, hell no. Sorry. Trump. No, we're not going to get into politics. He's not as dangerous as Cruz. Actually, if he's the Republican nominee, I'm quitting what I do and I just go campaign for whoever's the Democratic person, because we can't have a buffoon represent our country. Like, we can't be a laughingstock for other countries. Anyway, watch Idiocracy. If anybody has seen this classic movie, it's classic. I think it's 94. Watch Idiocracy, and then come back to me about Trump. So anyway, so make sure you have people that are going to be on your team. And what I mean is when you when you make those difficult transitions in your financial journey, that you get somebody who says, that's awesome, right? Like, I set up a Mint account and I linked all my accounts. That is awesome. Like, I'm so proud of you, right? Versus like, why would you spend your time? Like, blah, blah, blah. I filed my own taxes, or at least I read my tax return. That's awesome. I'm really happy that you're taking an interest in our taxation system. I opened my first investment account, right? Like, who do you share that with? Like, people are like, oh, that's nice. Have you ever heard, oh, that's nice for you. That's nice for you. Must be nice. Must be nice to be able to do that. Must be nice to be able to invest. Really? Really? Like, take that person off your list. See, like, you cross that person off the list if you get that response. You want to get that person who says, that's amazing. I'm really proud of you for taking the next step in your financial journey. Do you want to talk about it? Like, what did you invest in? Someone who takes interest in you and someone who is supportive. Hey, you know what? I reached my net worth is 6 figures. 6 figures, by the way, that's more than $100,000. who can you share that with, right? Like, if people around you are struggling and you're like, hey, I got to six-figure net worth, all of a sudden you get silence. And sometimes you start doubting yourself. Here's why this is important. Because you start doubting yourself. And then you go, you know what? I wish I could have a picture to post on Instagram of my beautiful renovated kitchen, or my newest purse or shoes. And people are like, oh my God, that is so amazing, right? I just spent, $60,000 on a car. That's so amazing. And you're like, wow, maybe I'm doing it wrong. Maybe financial freedom is not what it's cracked up to be, where I'm feeling the pull is consumption versus investing. Because again, like, who puts their portfolio up on Instagram? And you're not feeling the love. And so you start doubting yourself. And that's really what I'm trying to prevent from happening, is the doubt setting in. Because making a journey through your financial life is hard, especially when you don't come from that, right? So when you're first generation, like, again, my parents still don't know about invest. I mean, my parents are investors. They have bought into the market through my dad's retirement fund, but they've just taken no interest in it. And my dad's a mathematician, right? To me, I'm like, why don't you want to understand it? It seems confusing. And so what I got from my parents from terms of finances is don't spend, right? They're savers. And sometimes we bounce to the other way when your parents are extremely frugal. So my parents are classic immigrants, super frugal, save, don't have any debt, straight cash, yeah, don't have any debt. And then they have, they just kind of followed a very conservative lifestyle, I would say, in terms of spending, which is fine. But but then they kind of stopped at some point, right? And now they're retired. My dad just retired, and now they're gonna live in the spend down mode. By the way, spend down mode is really stressful, right? Because you're supposed to run out at some point after you die. I don't know. I feel like spend down would be, and it's because the pension system's going away. Everyone's going to be entering the stressful spend down period, and people are going to get more conservative. They're going to continue to overpay for services and underinvest in the market and get more and more. They're going to hoard cash, yeah. And so, anyhow, from my parents, like, I just got a couple skill sets, so I had no idea about investing. Like, this was not talked about at the dinner table. Assets were not talked about. Business was not talked about. And how did I learn? I read books. I read magazines. I always tell, like, my first education about business. Well, you are most definitely welcome to leave. And I don't mind people insulting me. I'm not everybody's cup of tea. I'm not here to win a beauty contest, people. I'm here to win the money contest, I guess. So anyway, what your parents haven't taught you, you're going to have to go out and learn. Hello. And so don't let the lack of education, both in schools and in your family, I know. People, I listen to other people talk about trolls and say, you have deep-seated, like, anger issues and lonely and everything. I'm talking about finding people that will support you in your financial journey. It's very, very important, because creating wealth for the first time, like, if you're born into wealth, here's what's the difference. This is why the bifurcation of inequality is happening. You may not know that, but there may be people around you or in your life that have intergenerational wealth. And think deeply about intergenerational wealth. If you think too deeply, you might get really upset about it, because how some intergenerational wealth has been built. But there are people born into this world through families of wealth. And wealth has been, the source of wealth has changed over time, right? Like, study your history. I love, in some ways, it's history, right? So look at the landowners, right? Yeah, I met this fellow at a wine tasting, right? And he's like, very nice guy. And again, there's nothing against people born into intergenerational wealth. You just have to understand it. And I met him, and he's like, this is wine. He was French. This is a wine from our family vineyard that's been in our family for however many generations. And I meet him. I'm like, he's a super nice guy. But this guy is intergenerational wealth. You know, it's so fascinating to meet people in intergenerational wealth because you know that they were taught about wealth and wealth building and assets, either explicitly or implicitly, like, hey, let's go to our family's vineyard where we sell wine, you know, where we sell the grapes, and this is how we make it. And when you don't have that, like, where do you learn that, right? When you come from struggle, like when I talk to my grandma who's still alive, she's 92, her idea about money is it's something that someone is merciful, like it's nice enough to give you for work you do. Like her idea about money is very different. And so when you grow up with that, you need to go, okay, I have to understand how money works, because you don't have anything that you start with, right? You don't have a starting point. So if you want to create wealth, you are starting at a different point, and you have to make up for it. And the thing is, what's beautiful today more than ever, right? Like, I love the things where they're like, you and I have more access to more information at our fingertips than the president of the United States had 20 years ago, right? Like you and I have access to information. So today there is no excuse. There's less excuse. I know that there's still sort of structural problems. And again, the pressure from your environment to keep you where you are, to keep you where you struggle. And so to do the opposite is to be other. And that's why I'm saying find the people who will allow you to flourish in being other. Yeah, you can follow me for sure. I talk about money habits. I talk about money, and I talk about money habits because achieving wealth is kind of tedious and boring. And I know that we all gravitate towards the people who are like, sold the company, you know, built the company, struggled for 20 years, sold it, got my millions and didn't blow it. We love that. We love that, that story. It's so exciting, right? But building wealth, more or less, is super boring. And the more boring it is, the more like, and again, it's, I say money habits. Like you literally have to do just a little bit about money every day. It's just little choices that you make. It's little tasks that you give yourself, and just doing it consistently. By the way, exercise or staying healthy, same thing. Very large, like watching grass grow, it is. You're like, it's so boring, right? And that's why it's like no excitement in it. It's not entertaining. Money is very unentertaining in some ways. And so that's why, you know, when you think about, so my origin, reading Fortune magazine when I was 21, I started reading Fortune because I love business. I didn't know I loved business, by the way. I had no idea. I never took a business class in college. I took all science classes, right? A scientist. Why? Because it was valued by my family. Math and science were valued by my family. So I did math. And by the way, math has served me so well, right? And science. So I have a huge knowledge in that area. And I took no business classes. Why? Because when you're a scientist, business is beneath you. And I had to go down the value ladder in my family to actually learn about how money works. And so I read Fortune magazine. When I was 21, I read The Millionaire Next Door. Everyone should read that. It's a study of who the real millionaires are, first generation wealth builders. Really, it's because most wealthy people, so I talk about intergenerational wealth, and there's many of those people, but there are more people who build wealth in the first generation, right? So more millionaires are in the first generation wealth building. Now, because the intergenerational wealth is like multi-million, like, and intergenerational wealth is like, you can't not have money. And the people were smart enough and clever enough and made money off the backs of others 3 generations, 4 generations, 5 generations, 10 generations ago. And you happen to be a descendant of that, of those people, and you benefit from it. And there's a whole different slew of, issues that come with people who are born into it. But majority of millionaires the low millionaires, like past the seven-figure net worth, is built in the first generation. And again, every single person, like the stories are so similar, right? It's their behavior, it's how they didn't spend their money, it's the business they built, the business that was just kind of boring. Like most people who, like if you look at the pie, right, the biggest slice of the pie are people who have boring businesses. They're just useful, right? They're like, hey, I'm going to just keep at it. I'm going to not spend my money. I'm going to invest it, maybe invest some in the business. I talk about diversification. Don't put all your money back in the business. Like, I know maybe when you're first starting, but like if you're 30, 40, 50 and all you've got going is the one business and no separate investments, yeah, stealth wealth, right? Welcome to my humble abode. Yeah, you're very welcome. I just really want people to recognize that because when it feels hard, it's because it is, and don't make it. I mean, you can make it easier on yourself by surrounding yourself with people that are like-minded and who will support you. And this is what I'm talking about. You're no longer limited by the people in your neighborhood. You're no longer limited by the people in the small town. You looked up yesterday, I took the questionnaire of your bubble. I don't know if you've seen like how are you living in a bubble? And it was like a NPR test. And it asked like, have you ever lived in a town that was like less than 10,000 people? You can have a balance. Yes, you can. You have to just ask yourself, like, you have to be more thoughtful about what it means to enjoy life. And sometimes people just like, we just want to be like this. And we say, the more you do this, the more enjoyable life is. Ask yourself, what do you really enjoy? What do you value, right? And so, like I said, I value sharing experiences with my children. And I balance it. Like, they love camping. I love camping. I had to convince my husband to go camping. And then he was like, oh, it's not so bad. Because he likes the hotels, right? He likes the all-inclusive resorts. And I was like, okay, so we can pay $10,000 in an all-inclusive resort, or we can go camping for a couple $100. And then we can go camping like 5 times a summer. And by the way, because we don't have to work so hard, we can take time off so we can do it more often. So, like make the trade-offs, and be smart about it. Yeah, and is it enjoying the journey, right? Like, because I am enjoying my life. I'm enjoying my life quite a bit because I don't attach my self-worth to some of the trappings that other people have. Like, I don't need to display it. I'm just living it. And so you can still have a nice, but when I started traveling as a consultant, which was like a decade ago, I traveled a lot. And then, you know what I realized? The thing is though, if you truly love travel, you've got to connect the love of doing with some way to make money. By the way, I'm always like, people are like, oh, I wish I could travel. I'm like, well, have you tried to work for an airline? Because they fly people for free everywhere. Like, I have friends that work for airlines, and you don't have to be a flight attendant. By the way, you can work at the airport, like a shift, and then all your flights are free. Like, you just have to be on a schedule that it's available, right? Like you gotta be more creative in just of saying, well, I don't have money, so I can't do it. Have you thought of the 10? Ask me what you want to do, and I'll give you 10 ideas of. And I'm sorry, I missed the last comment. I'll give you 10 ideas of how you can do it without money or with less money, right? And that's the thing. Yeah, you get a buddy pass, right? Like, I have a friend who works for an airline. They're like, I had a friend who was getting so many free passes that they were expiring because there's not enough people. Yeah, like there's not enough people to give them away to, right? And it's like, yeah, you were the last person in line on Thursday priority and you have to fly on Wednesday. So what? You can fly for free. Like, there's just so many ways. Oh, by the way, the point about traveling, when I started traveling as a consultant, I started accumulating points on all of these hotels. And then I realized, I'm like, holy shit, the rich people get a lot of things for free. Like, the more you get there, the more you realize, like, miles and points. And like, my parents have had a credit card from their credit union. They've never had a miles card, and they don't really like using their credit card, right? And yeah, and so it's like, okay, you just have to be a little bit more organized. Like, don't have a credit. Like, when you get to a point, it's like a thing, and so I've traveled to so many, I've stayed in some nice hotels for free because they're like, you look at the points, you look at when the dates are open, and it's posh, right? Yeah, perks. But you've got to, yeah, you've got to be mindful about it. And then you've got to be organized about it. And you've got to be like all the things that I talk about. You have to have a habit. And I'm not the best at some of this travel points. Like some of it is like my husband has accounts. My husband has 200,000 miles on United. And I'm like, it's fine. I've gone to Hawaii on miles. Again, you've got to be flexible about the time. Habits are key. Be flexible about the time you travel. So you go a day later than everybody else and you give a little, right? But like I've flown to Europe with a family of four. Right, fly standby, like be flexible. The thing is that if you can't create some flexibility in your life, you can't take advantage of those things. If you're like, well, I got to be at work at 9 a.m. on Monday, then you can't fly, you can't fly back on Monday, right? Well, you have to fly back on Sunday night. And guess what? There's no free tickets for Sunday night, right? So like whatever it is that you want, be more open to possibilities. Yes, that's right. That's right. Working part-time. Yes, exactly, exactly. Like we are trained to think that there's just one way, and I want you to open your eyes and understand that there's more. And I didn't know about these things. My parents still don't know. My parents have paid for every single flight, and then okay, it's like kind of embarrassing. So my mom's has like only bought tickets from a travel agent, and she has to buy tickets to go to Florida because she has this conference. She's involved in this math kangaroo, which is a math contest, so for kids. She wants to go to this conference, and she keeps bugging me to like buy her a ticket. And I'm like so frustrated because I'm like www.expedia.com, and the resistance that you have, yeah, right, the resistance that you have to doing something yourself and mucking through it, like that's the biggest problem in your life, by the way. Like my mom won't fumble through it. She just wants someone to do it for you. And that's, by the way, the problem with most people. You're not willing to fumble through it. Do you know how many things I fumbled through when it comes to money? Every goddamn thing. I fumbled through it. Once, twice, 3 times. So what? The next time I tried it, it got better. I got better at it. So, yeah, you can do kayak, you can do all kinds of things, right? The thing is, though, like, don't be afraid of making a mistake when it comes to money. The biggest mistake you can make is not doing anything. But people will hold you back. They'll say, well, what if you mess it up? What if you fail? What if you do it wrong? Well, I don't want to do that. Don't invest in the stock market. It's kind of scary. And you're like, well, have you tried it? Like, did it bite you? And people talk about, yeah, mistakes are how you learn, I've seen like the FAIL acronym. Yeah, for airfare, right? And it's like, and also what days you fly on. But you have to create flexibility in your life to take advantage of it. And the way you do it is you don't let other people dictate your life. But you can't do it if yeah, don't bet the farm. Well, never bet the farm. Diversify. Like, and again, I'm reading Warren Buffett's wisdom, right? Take it from people, like listen to people who have been around for a long time or have been doing something for a long time. Listen to them and believe them, especially when they're not trying to sell you anything. When people are trying to sell you something, they're going to give you different set of information. When people are literally just sharing the wisdom, like, why don't you listen? I don't understand. Why don't people listen to Warren Buffett? That dude's got it down, right? Like, I got total respect for him. And you're like, because you're like, what does he do with his day? Have you ever like done the research? Like, what does Warren Buffett do all day? He reads. He reads business stuff, or he just reads. He thinks. Why? Because he has the freedom to do that, right? But that's how he's learned a lot of it. And he surrounds himself with people who support him. Yeah, do your own research, folks. Do your own research, do your own math. Try again, right? And try something. Like I said, everything I've done, I stumbled a little bit, like I made mistakes, but they weren't huge, right? Because I wasn't waiting to try when I was like way ready, when everything was, my first house that I bought, $56,000 it cost. I bought it in 2000 maybe, 2000. It was a tiny little house. I learned a lot about buying real estate and living in a house. $56,000. I always think, man, there are people who buy cars that are more expensive than my first little house. That's right. But I did it at a lower, like first mortgage. I was like, oh, mortgage, 30-year, how about 10-year? I think I took a 10-year mortgage because only $200 extra. So like I learned a lot about owning real estate for my first little house. And I did it early. Why? Because I didn't live to live in the really nice big house first. Or just like, and I have to credit my ex-husband. He was like, let's get this house. And I was like, the math works. Let's get a tiny little house. And so you learn by doing it. If you wait to have that experience later in life, you're going to learn on bigger mistakes. Anyway, point is, in this digital world, you're not limited to the people in your immediate circle to get the support that you need to get you moving. So if you are serious in financial freedom, and by the way, thank you for all the people who stuck around. Find the people. By the way, I'm one of those people. I'm so psyched when people make good financial decisions. And I know I have, friends, and I encourage them and I give them advice. And I'm super psyched for people here. Anyone that makes that step, when someone says, hey, I opened my first IRA, I'm like, that is amazing. Why? Because I want people to succeed. So surround yourself in your immediate, have one or two people that you can go to and say, oh, I did it. It was super scary. And I did it and I accomplished it. Or I have this goal, right? And tell your people, share those goals with people, right? Share those goals and then learn. And then learn and try. This is the learning cycle. It's like learn something, then try to do it. Then you learn some more. And you're going to build your skill set and you're going to progress on your financial journey. Good morning. Good morning, Joyce. So that's really the point of today's ramble. And I'm going on a long time. And by the way, do you hear the silence? So my husband took the kids to his parents' house for the weekend because I was like, I need time. I need time alone. I need time alone, Periscope, and my solitude. So I'm able to go a little bit uninterrupted on Saturday, which is quite nice, from downstairs. Yay! So, but that's it. That's it. In your financial journey, make sure you have cheerleaders, supporters, and be the cheerleader. By the way, the best way to find cheerleaders is to be a cheerleader for someone else. It was necessary. I was like, I need time. Take out. That's right. Listen to the replay. I just talk about having a a team of people who are. Let's speed up. Well, I'm meeting. I already scheduled. But if you're coming into town, because I have something on my schedule, actually, I got to check with my friend. I said I meet him at 11 to help him with his business, because that's what I do in my free time. I help people with their business ideas and like straightening out their vision. But maybe tonight. Let's see if we can meet up tonight. So anyhow. Find your support team, be the support team, and learn, try, do, something like that. Thank you, everybody who's joined today. Appreciate your support. Thank you for inviting your followers. If you did, if you're following me, that's great. Okay, let us close. Don't know what that is, but be the cheerleader. Find your cheerleaders when it comes to financial freedom. And I will be on tomorrow morning at 10 a.m. every single day. I'm on at 10 a.m. Central Time, Chicago time, to share with you guys my perspectives. I'm a practitioner of financial management, of my own sort of personal financial management, and that's why I'm able to answer all those pesky questions, the detailed questions, versus just having a rhetoric around money management. So thank you so much. Appreciate it. I do. I appreciate your time, your attention, and your good words. Oh, thank you. Thanks for all the supporters. I do support the other folks. Find me on Twitter or Snapchat. Those are really the best way, because I get buried in email. So same Twitter at joannazarach, TaylorMade. And then I think you can tweet at me. I think I need to follow you to do direct messaging. But if you get me on Snapchat at joannazarach, like you just add me, I add everybody back, and you can just send me messages there. I just kind of like those places better than email. Email like makes me tired. So it's the best way to do that. So yeah, get in touch with me. Yeah, you're welcome. And yeah, if you have any questions or anything else, reach out to me on Twitter. I'm always happy to talk to people about their personal situation and give them some advice. I always find they're all solvable problems when it comes to money. Everything else is complicated, but when it comes to money, money is a solvable problem. So thanks a lot. I'm doing great. I'm just wrapping up. So if you want to watch a replay, you can. Otherwise, I'll catch you guys tomorrow. Bye.